This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right around this great, beautiful little planet of ours, and, of course, on our satellite programming providers. Now, if you'd like to find out what we're up to, it's very simple, www.xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, just X-Zone Radio TV. Just testing you, Craig, and man, you caught it. Now, before we get to my guest this hour, Mary A. Joyce, quick question. How would you like to be part of UFO history? You would? One simple place to go, www.cubesat4disclosure.com. Mary A. Joyce is our guest. She has worked for two major metropolitan area newspapers as a writer, columnist, artist, Sunday magazine editor, and feature editor. On the side, she's written magazine articles and 5 other books. Currently, she is the editor of Sky Ships Over Cashiers website, which features cutting-edge topics. Her career includes working for a Fortune 100 company, coordinating art and printing for talking children's books. In that capacity, she worked directly with many creative teams, including those at Marvel Comics, Golden Books, Mr. Rogers, Bernstein Bears, and Steven Spielberg's E.T.'s book staff. She also worked for one of the world's largest private printing companies, a major metropolitan air pollution company control agency, and a community college and political campaigns. Some of the other books that Mary A. Joyce has written include Cherokee, Little People Were Real, and Tangible Evidence of Jesus Left Behind for Us to Find. Joining me now from the beautiful state of North Carolina, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Is our good guest this hour, Mary A. Joyce. And Mary, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Your website, shipsovercashiers.com. Okay, I get the ships, sky ships, I should say.
Right.
Over cashiers.
Cashiers is the part that's a stumper, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a community or a small town that's at the top of the mountains. It's where a lot of people in the lowlands come to spend their summers and the fall, and then they retreat back to lowland when the weather gets cold.
Gotcha.
But it's a mountaintop community, and it's where we first began to see lots of UFOs. And that's how the name came to be.
Now, I understand you would like to share some cutting-edge UFO information with our listeners tonight.
Yes, there's 2 things I'd like to share with you. One, it's not totally new to our website, but I'm pretty sure it'll be new to most of your listeners. And we were contacted by a man in the Netherlands who was able to take these NASA satellites of objects around the moon, and I'm talking giant objects. Many of them are bigger than Jupiter. Mm-hmm. And he had the technical expertise to get in there and dust and clean them, which are his words, so that you can begin to see the structure and the detail, which usually doesn't show up on UFO photos. And if anybody wants to take a look at those, you can go to skyshipsovercashiers.com, and on the home page, on the left-hand side, there's a list of different categories. Mm-hmm. Open up global links. And we first began to get his photos in 2013. So anybody who would really be interested in seeing this can just go into the archives for 2013. We have some of his in 2014 and then 2015, and then he's disappeared off the map. I haven't been able to get in touch with him at all this year, so I don't know what's happened to him. But the photos are amazing because you can actually see incredible structures.
We certainly will get our listeners to go there. Now, I've got about a minute and a half before I go to commercial break, but you're going to be on a Canadian TV show, Travel and Escape. Tell us about that.
Okay. I was interviewed earlier this year by, actually it's a film crew out of Canada that's doing a show for both the Canadian program called Travel and Escape and for the Travel Channel here in the United States. And they interviewed me and some other people about the secret underground base built beneath the Smoky Mountain National Park here in the Appalachian Mountains. And our key witnesses have all had military background. They can identify the different kinds of helicopters and the cargo transport vehicles and all of this kind of thing. It's very interesting, and I know it's part of this season schedule, but the date isn't firmed up yet.
Well, we'll keep our eyes open for it, and we'll certainly let our listeners know when we find it, and get as many people up here in the great cold north to watch it as soon as it comes on. Exonation, Mary A. Joyce is our guest. www.skyshipsovercashiers.com is the website. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast station and our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
Welcome back to the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and Mary Joyce is our special guest, www.skyshipsovercashiers.com. The investigation that you did into this UN treaty that the United States is part of, that allocated a certain part of the United States, giving it jurisdiction to the United Nations. Are there other countries around the world that have also done the same? And if so, who?
Yes, there are. Yes.
Who?
I did not go into deep research. I know there's stuff in Australia, for sure. There's places in Europe, but I did not focus on that because I was focusing on the United States. And the furthest from continental United States would be Hawaii, and not that long ago, about 140,000 acres were turned over to the heritage.
For specific use by the United Nations?
It is now owned by the United Nations, yes.
Okay, so if this just isn't in the United States, there are other countries that have joined in this effort, but we don't know what other countries are. For example, do we know if Great Britain, if Germany, or other members of the United Nations have also been part of training exercises with the United Nations Blue Hats, or is it just in the United States?
Well, it's two things. Probably because we have more space here, a lot of military training would go on here. There's more insulation. People can be doing maneuvers in the mountains here, and not that many people are going to run into them. If you do it in Europe, I think it gets a little tighter. But check into it. Check into Canada. They may very well have some of those World Heritage sites also.
So let me just get a better understanding and grip on this. So to the best of your knowledge, you don't know because your investigation strictly was focused on what was going on in the U.S.?
That's correct.
Okay. Another book that is rather interesting that I came across, Cherokee Little People Were Real. Tell us about that.
When I first moved to North Carolina in 1998, I had never heard of Cherokee Little People. And then I began to hear these stories, and they kind of sounded like just mythology. And one day, a man came in where I worked at the time, and he's no longer living. He was a very elderly man who was well respected, a veteran and all of that. And he said one day in a conversation, he said, no, they were real. And when he was a young man after World War II, he was involved in clearing land and building new buildings at Western Carolina University, which is here in Western North Carolina. And it seems like wherever they were digging to build new structures, they would run into these little tunnels. And all these tunnels were made in very dense red clay. They were square cut except for the top, and the top would be a rounded arch, and as you know, that makes a structure stronger if you have the arch. And they also found little skeletons. One professor in the science department had a small skeleton that a skull that he kept on his desk, sort of like a decorative paperweight. And one day another teacher came by and picked it up and looked at it real closely and said, this is not a child's skull. It has all of its wisdom teeth. And the whole campus, when construction has been done, they have found little skeletons and little tunnels. So there must have been a little people community in this area at one time. There was an Indian mound, at least they called it an Indian mound, on the campus And the old-timers told me that that was not really a normal Indian mound. It used to have a tubular hole that went straight down from the top, and the land was once farmed, and the farmer would put these big logs that were maybe 8 inches in diameter, and they would put it down into this hole to keep the cattle from falling into it. So I actually ended up interviewing 11 different people for that book. Most of them were old-timers who had worked on the campus when much of this construction was going on. And there's some irony with all of this. There is a building called the McKee Building. It's the oldest, one of the oldest ones on campus. And I heard stories from men who went to school there when it was a grade school, and they would talk about going down into the basement and into the janitor's section, and there would be these tunnels that went out from the basement, and they would dare each other to go and see it or to look into it. The irony is that those tunnels still exist, but they put in a supporting wall in the basement, and you no longer can access it. And the irony part is that on the other side or the inside of that wall is where the anthropology department is. So here is a department very interested in old-time things, and on the other side are these ancient tunnels, and they can't even reach them. The university has been very reluctant to let any of this be known because...
All right, so Mary, what is the university saying about this? You know, here you've got a university. They've got this historic find right beside their anthropology department. You know, why aren't they spreading the news?
I think it gets down to just the desire to keep building and expanding the campus. Anytime you find an archaeological site, things shut down until it's well documented, and I don't think they want to do that. So they just kind of try to keep it hush hush. There is a story that came in after the book was done. It was from a student who had been there during the time of some of the building. And he and some buddies were down by the river. There's a river that goes through the campus. And they were just horsing around. And the head of security came walking by, and he was carrying a box that would be a little bit bigger than a shoebox. And somehow they got into a discussion with this guy. And he said, well, these are some more of those bones they found when they were working on a particular building. And he was taking the bones to rebury them out in an ATV trail. And that was one of the ways they were dealing with the little bones they were finding.
But isn't that against the law?
I think so. Yes, I do. And I have actually gone to the office of the chancellor. I've talked to his wife. I've tried to get people to come forward on this. I sometimes get my best information from the students. One of the students who has now graduated said that not only do they have like the skull of a small little person in one of their forensic storage areas, but they also have at least 2 giant skeletons that have 6 toes. So they're sitting on some really great things, and universities and even things like the Smithsonian sometimes suppress information that goes against what current history is. And you're probably familiar with some of the books that have come out in the last few years showing that the Smithsonian has been hiding many of these skeletons also. So, you know, people don't want the history messed up, and they don't want their building projects slowed down.
But why wouldn't you go to the federal government? That's a federal offense. Your congressman, your state senator.
Good questions. Good questions.
You know,
but anyhow, that's the reality of what we're dealing with right now.
Okay, but if you know this is happening and it's wrong, you went to the chancellor or tried to, they're doing nothing, so why not go one step higher? You're upset that, you know, the military may be doing something, and yet you've got proof in front of you that something is wrong, and you're not taking it to the next level. I don't understand that.
Well, it takes a whole lot of money and a whole lot of legal stuff to even take on things like this, and my pockets aren't that deep.
But a phone call?
Oh, yes. I mean, I've done some of this.
A text message, you know? And what has been the response from your congressman or your senator? Or the Department
can't get past the people in the front office that monitor the calls.
What about the Department of the Interior?
Okay, I'll follow through on that.
I'm just asking logical questions. I'm just wondering why. So if these little bodies are, these graves are being desecrated, that's not right. But what happens if...
Well, the Indians here at the reservation, which is the Cherokee Nation,
right?
They have tried to tackle this, and they actually have more ability to try to get through to some of this. But they're not having, any success either, apparently. Because I have talked to people with the tribe.
You say apparently. As a journalist, wouldn't you have checked this out so that you can come back with an answer rather than apparently?
Well, I have talked to the people that are involved with Cherokee history and have talked to them about it.
Okay.
And they have been trying in their own ways to do things. I have not gotten involved with what they are doing.
Okay, gotcha.
But they have been trying to do different things to get some of this truth out.
Wow.
They spend an awful lot of time just trying to preserve some of the ruins that are just on their reservation. It's amazing how difficult some of this can be. They tried to stop the building of a regular grade school where there was a more contemporary village of the Cherokee, and they weren't successful at that. So I don't know what to tell you, because the people at that level have much more interest in this than many people would have.
But you've got the power of the press with you. You're a former editor. You know a lot of people. You're an author. I'm sure you could lend them a great method of support.
I hear you.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got to take a commercial in a few seconds.
But I do have to tell you this.
What's that?
There's also tricky business in dealing with the Cherokees. I am a white person. I can't go in and commandeer their efforts. I can talk to them, I can suggest things, but I can't lead the charge with them.
No, but you could call up a congressman or a senator or get a hold of the Department of the Interior and say, this is what I know is going on. What can be done about it? How can you help the Cherokee Nation? Contact the mainstream media. I'm sure they would love to get on a story like this.
I have forwarded stories and information on these books to the media, and nothing gets picked up.
Really?
The only places that pick it up are radio and TV shows that deal with alternative news. I've contacted things like the Atlanta newspaper, the Asheville newspaper. They just don't pick up on it.
What a shame. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back on the other side as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Exonation, Mary A. Joyce is our special guest this hour. www.skyshipsovercashiers.com is her website. And let's talk about military bases. You have a new book that's out, Underground Military Bases Hidden in the Carolina Mountains. Tell us about these military bases that are so secret, and they've actually been put in mountains and underground, and why are they doing this?
Let's see, that's two questions. Number one, there's natural caves and stuff beneath the mountains here, so a lot of those things could be expanded upon. So that's part of the reason for the mountains. It's called survival land, and if you know about the first bunker for the people out of Washington, which is now publicly known, it was at the Greenbrier Hotel, and it was a place where there was a hidden place beneath the hotel where people could escape from Washington, D.C. So the idea of having a place to retreat to either for any kind of disaster. So that's certainly one reason. Strange things that go on some of them. But we'll stick with the one that will be on the show in Canada, and that's the one beneath the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It is also the most recent one that seems to have been built. And the action, I think, was mostly in 2012, 2013, 2011 maybe, where people were seeing these humongous sky cranes and helicopters doing drops of major box-size packages into this remote area that, the public can't access. And our best witness is a man that we just called Clark, and he and his wife both have military backgrounds, and they were the ones that contacted me. And what's interesting is that I had known these people before they ever experienced this, so I had multiple reasons to believe them and to follow through on what they were telling me. And they had pulled off on a road just south of Cherokee. Now, Cherokee is, in the Smoky Mountains. And they saw this very strange truck that had very unusual equipment on the back of it. He said it looked like a decontamination chamber that he had seen in the military. And he actually is very friendly and outgoing. He went up and talked to the truck driver, and it was a woman, and she said she was waiting for a number of other trucks that were going to meet there, and then they were going to have a military escort to take them to an undisclosed location. Mm-hmm. Well, he was a real detective and followed them close, at a distance. And when the escorts came with the other 5 trucks, they were white SUVs, and the people inside the vehicles were dressed in black and had guns. All of the trucks had tarps on them that had the initials for the U.S. Air Force, and the caravan went into a place called Smokemont, which is one of the campgrounds on the main road that goes between North Carolina and Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And they pulled off in there, and as soon as all the trucks went through, they shut down the gate and nobody else could get into it. That is the closest point from the major road going to Tennessee to this place where the entrance is. So that's how it all got started.
All right, just listening to you, okay, the government has a facility that they're working on or they're completing in a matter of national defense. Aren't there things that the public should know and the government has the right to keep secret and, because they're protecting?
When you start listening to some of the military who are willing to talk a little bit, there is really great concern about something that's known as Planet X or Nibiru, and the elite are planning escape places. We did a story on the website rather recently about a community in Lake Lure, which is to the east of me, but it's still here in the mountains. And all sorts of military people are buying land in that area, and including somebody who is a top general at the Pentagon. He doesn't live there. He may come there occasionally, but it's strictly a place where they can escape to if things get really bad. So there is concern about some kind of a possible disaster. And I would think that would be a major reason. But it's not for you and I and the regular people. It's for people who have power and clout.
Well, up here in Canada, we had the Diefenbaker bunker near Carp, Ontario. That was the bunker that in case of a nuclear war or devastating threat that the members of Parliament would be taken to, so that if, in fact, there was a war, that at least the country would still have an active working government. I have a problem with the conspiracy theories when it comes to Planet X, Nibiru, because there's no scientific evidence whatsoever that it is real.
And I'm certainly not going to debate that issue. Yeah. That is just one of the things that people say, because it is a bunker designed for some kind of disaster.
Okay.
And there's a whole network of them in the book that I've written about underground bases in North Carolina mountains. I've featured 5 of them, and there's evidence to indicate that they're probably all connected by tunnels. Mm-hmm. And you probably have seen photos of these underground boring machines that are actually bigger than a train car.
Oh, sure, yeah,
and
the ones
round
like
and cylindrical,
Yeah.
and they can just go
Yep.
through rocks
Yeah.
rather quickly. And what would happen is people, let's say between two of these locations, would feel and hear all sorts of vibrations for X amount of time, and then it would disappear. So it could very well have been while they were drilling these tunnels. There's many sources that indicate that there's like a monorail system that connects much of this.
But once again, let us say that the government has decided that everybody knows about the NORAD headquarters in Cheyenne Mountain.
Right.
Okay, why don't we move it to another location or a number of locations where in case one gets knocked out, the others still will be able to defend the United States as well as to, take care of the armies, the Navy, and the military wherever they are in across the globe. So why are we getting so concerned about this?
Well, there's multiple reasons. If you want to get into the conspiracy part, there is another facility here that is simply known as PARI, P-A-R-I. It stands for Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute. And it's the oldest of the ones that I've written about. We've had, I'll give you kind of a strange report. One of the men who's, an adult now, but when he was a young man, he was working on a Christmas tree farm that was near this facility. And they saw cages being carried into this place with animals in them. Now, why? Why would they be taking animals in cages in that? Then we had another woman who, her father was, as a child, she was in a community where they were working on nuclear-type weapons, and it was very secretive, and they couldn't talk about it. And when she was well into her 60s, for the first time, she decided she wanted to let people know some of the things that were going on. And she said that at the Perry facility, they are doing experiments with people there, that there's mind control issues and things of that nature. So there's a darker side to some of these facilities. I don't think that's true of all of them.
But you see, there's nothing new with the mind control experiments. That's been going on since the 50s. You had Project MKUltra that was being done in Canada, the United States. Here in Canada, the Allen Memorial Institute. We know that. So, I don't know what to tell you other than the fact that they, I don't think it's all just to maintain the government. If that were the case, why would there be so many? We've heard a lot about the ones in the West, and the reason I wanted to write this book is because I couldn't find anything that was being written about what was going on here in the Appalachian Mountains, on the eastern part of the country. And that's what I focused on. But I'm sure you're well aware of all the things that are going on out in the facilities out in the West. It's really kind of sad that they try to keep people in the dark about the things that they are concerned about the preparation that they're doing, and leaving everybody out there hanging and not knowing. Well, it's
what
called
they might have to deal with.
It's called national security.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and you know what? In my books,
that's okay, huh?
It is. It is.
To some degree, it is. But
you know,
well,
all
right, let's get into something else that's kind of related.
Okay.
One of the facilities is beneath the Mount Mitchell mountain. It's the tallest mountain east of the Mississippi. And one of our key witnesses on that story is a man who was in the medical field all of his professional life. He was a medic in Vietnam. And when he retired, he volunteered for the National Guard because he still was full of energy.
Right.
When they found out that he had high security clearance, they used him in a different way. And he was he headed up a troop that was surveilling this mountain, and they were concerned because of the United Nations. There's all sorts of what they call blue hats that are seen around Mount Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the concerns that many people have is we have troops from different countries and the United Nations operating in our country, and it's always puzzled people around here why Russians and Germans can be doing that in our national parks or in our area.
Well,
and that's when I found out that in 1972, back in the days when Nixon was president, our country signed a treaty. It's called the World Heritage Treaty, which we give up rights to certain parts of our country and turn it over to the UN. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park is one of those parks. So even though the United States supports the running of that park, they do not, the country does not own it. It is now owned by the UN. And I was real surprised. I had to check that out and make sure it was a reality. And in the book, I do have, more information about that treaty.
All right, stand by. I've got to take my my break. Exonation,
Okay.
Mary Joyce is our special guest. Her website is Sky Ships Over Cashiers, and we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to visit our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And you can always send me an email while here in studio at studio@xzoneradiotv.com, or my general email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. The X Zone, Monday through Friday from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randle. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
Exonation, Mary A. Joyce is our very special guest tonight. www.skyshipsovercashiers.com is her website. One of the other books that really interested me was your one called Tangible Evidence of Jesus. Can you tell us about that, and where did you get the inspiration to write this book?
I don't know which one to answer first.
Your choice.
It came in a totally different way. I actually was awakened in the middle of the night and was directed to do this. I mean, it was like a vision, spirit kind of thing, and that's why I did it. I didn't intend to do it, and all the focus was on, or is on, scientific and archaeological evidence about Jesus that goes way beyond what's in the Bible. And there's interesting stories. There's one there's a character from the Bible that we don't hear much about called Joseph of Arimathea. He's just mentioned as the one who gives the tomb for Jesus to be married. Well, in the Eastern Church, they have a lot more information about him and other sources, and he was the great uncle of Jesus. And at the time of Jesus, when somebody was crucified, only a family member or a man in the family could be responsible for the body. And the fact that there was a family relationship is why he was able to take the body. But Joseph of Arimathea was also in Roman records. He was a nobilis decurio in charge of the tin mines in southwest England. And he traveled all the time between those two places. He took Jesus as a boy with him on some of those trips, and there are special crosses that you can still find in that part of England that show him as a boy in the tunic, the short tunic. There's a well there that's named the Jesus Well, and it's a very small well that has like a little rock, tiny chapel built over it, and it's now in the middle of a golf course. So what they've done is there's like a hole in a fairway, and this little chapel for this Jesus Well is there, and so the golfers have to go around it, but it still exists. Joseph of Arimathea was also he was a Roman senator, and so it's just a fascinating character, and it gives a whole different dimension far beyond what we see in the Bible, and that's one example.
Was Jesus real?
Yes, I do believe he was real. I think he lived as an ordinary man. He had family. There is evidence that he was married, and we get into that in the book. There is a tomb that was dug up, and it's called the Jesus family tomb. And the way the tombs were built at that time is you would walk in the door, and there would be a square center area, and then there would be these little tubular things off to each of the walls. And in those ancient burial sites, the most important person would be buried in the first chamber to the right. Well, when they get into this first little chamber, there's writings or inscriptions on 3 ossuaries, which are these little bone boxes that were slid into these after. Anyhow, it gets complicated. But one of them says Jesus, son of Joseph. One says it would be the equivalent of the familiar name for Mary. And then there is another tomb that says Judas, son of Jesus. And they have done DNA research on the little remnants left inside these bone boxes, and there's no family link between the Mary in the burial area with Jesus, between the two of them. So it wasn't his mother, it wasn't a sister, it most likely was a wife. So there's things like that in the book, and certainly in the book I do a better job of explaining it than I'm doing right now.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm sorry for interrupting, because this is such an interesting topic. Do you believe, based on the research that you've done, that Jesus Christ was the actual Son of God, or was he just another all-knowing master?
Well, you're probably going to be surprised by my personal answer. I don't really get into this in the book. I really think he's a more evolved, almost like a spaceman from our future.
Okay.
That, periodically comes back to Earth. That's my own personal feeling from all the things that I've seen in my life and read in my life. And
why do you think Jesus would leave evidence behind?
I don't think he intentionally did it. I think that we have archaeologists and scientists who've been digging in stuff that just hasn't been discovered before. There's been a lot of discoveries in the last 10 years about Jesus.
So where do you think, after, let's say, years from now, the archaeological digs have happened, what do you think we will know more about when it comes to Jesus, the Bible, the myth, the philosophy?
All right, I think we're going to find out that he was he lived the life of a regular human being. I like to tell people about the fact that he was called rabbi, which is in the Bible.
Yeah.
But in order to be a rabbi at that time, and maybe now for all I know, but at least at that time, you had to be married to be a rabbi. You also had to be married for a man to teach children. And they talk about him gathering the children around him and teaching them. So he had to have been married by those standards. People think he was just running around with a bunch of boys or fishermen, and there are even inklings in the regular Bible that some of the disciples were married. I think they refer to Peter's mother-in-law in the Bible. But anyhow, they lived. It would have been unacceptable for him not to have been married in the culture he was in.
I agree with you. The movies with Tom Hanks, what were they called? Angels and Demons, and what was the Da Vinci Code?
Oh yeah.
It opened up a whole new audience to the mystery, and I think that this is what we need at this time, because I've often wondered, and I've asked guests like yourself, what would happen if the events that occurred in biblical times, that are written about, that are miracles, that are the foundations of a religion, were to happen today with all the knowledge we have of quantum physics, science, biology, astronomy.
Miracles are only things that we do not understand.
Yeah. So how would the Bible be different? That's the question. Were these things really miraculous? Or were these things that happened at a time in history when knowledge was very little?
I think most people are still pretty awed when certain people are able to do like hands-on healing. There's a lot of hoaxers out there and fakers, but there are genuine people who are able to do those kinds of things. And when somebody witnesses a real healing, I think they are still awed even with the scientific knowledge we have today.
Why do you think in the year 2016 so many people are clutching to UFOs, extraterrestrials, the paranormal, and the strange, the weird, and the bizarre?
I think there's a real emptiness inside so many people, and I think there's a searching for something, that there's something else out there, that there's meaning to something, that they want to be part of something bigger. I think that's certainly a part of it. I don't think that explains it all. But I think we're also preparing or being prepared for some significant changes. I mean, my goodness, just in the UFO field, in Cashiers, where we started the website, we have had somebody that lives there all the time who kind of monitors the sky for us. And since 2008, so for 8 years, we've been watching the sky up there. We have had more UFOs since August than any time in all those years. Why? Why are we seeing more and more all over the world? Something is on the verge of happening. Now, I'm not going to be so bold as to say exactly what's going to happen, but the number of UFOs is certainly increasing. And I don't think they're all good, by the way. I think there's good and bad, just like we have here on Earth.
And yesterday I was speaking to one of the directors from MUFON, and they said there has been no increase in UFO sightings.
Well, I think it's very spotty. I think some areas hardly see any at all. But then, like here in Cashiers, we're seeing a bunch of them. And it's increased. And why is that? There could be many reasons. That Perry Center that I mentioned to you, as the crow flies, is not very far from there. And we've had witnesses tell us that they have seen UFOs fly into and out of a lake that's just to the west of that center. So some of the underground facilities are connected with UFOs and are working cooperatively in some way. Whether that is good or bad, that's kind of uncertain. I tend to think that the Greys and the reptilians and things like that are not really good guys, and I really don't want to spend time with them. But I also believe that there are some that are very evolved and very positive.
Mary, we've got to say so long for tonight. I wish you continued success. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Mary, visit her website, www.skyshipsovercashiers.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, always send me an email, studio@xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back. Whatever you do, don't go away.